And there he is. I'm sorry for your loss, for you personally, for the band, and obviously for his friends and family as well. And you say, well, describe him. You say he was a driving force of you and the band.
I mean, he was our friend. We were all sort of knew each other very well from the age of 15. He lived about 200 yards down the road. A little schoolgirl called Sinead O'Connor lived sort of beside him, and we shared bus stops and stuff. Simon, the drummer, knew him since he was 10 and was in a band since he was 10. So it's pretty close, but he was a difficult man. He was filled with this sort of inchoate rage, but then we all were. So 1976, and the punk thing was perfect for us.
Yeah.
You know, troubled sort of guy, but that powered that vulgar guitar, as one critic called it. And a band sort of works in a way, the drummer gives you the swing, the bass player gives you the groove, the rhythm player powers that, the filigree and the trimmings are the lead guitar, the piano, and then the singer does the melody on top of it. And so this was the guy, I could write the tunes, but Garry really was that animus, that rage, that impetus behind the tune. So very missed. I mean, you know, sometimes he was a colleague as well. It's kind of weird. He's a mate, he's a colleague, but he's not someone you ring up and say you're going out for a pint tonight because you're with these people for years in the seat beside you, on the plane, the bus, the train, you're in the hotel room beside you, on stage beside you, in rehearsal beside you, doing interviews. Years. So, yes, it's a colleague, it's some other relationship. And it's only when that is ruptured that it appears to be something fundamental. It's certainly fundamental for the Rats. You know, what do you replace this very annoying person that's sort of glowering over your right shoulder? Like, I'll turn around and it won't be Gaz anymore.
Yes.
And Garry, like all guitar players, who are generally a pain in the arse for most singers or for most bands, thought that the way forward was to turn it up just that little bit more during the gig. And I'd be going, for God's sake, you know, I'd be turning, going, what, Geldof, what's wrong with you now? And, of course, he had to stare at my skinny arse for the last 40 years. So, you know, I mean, it's not a good relationship. But he was a great guitar player. You know, one of the Irish critics, B.P. Fallon, said he was a one-man Ramone, if you remember that
absolutely.
primal
So what
band.
do you do then in that case? And I mean, you've got festivals coming up in the summer, and you have to, if you're going to carry on playing, there has to be somebody else over your shoulder, and I suppose you don't want to... Do you recreate someone who can play that vulgar guitar, as you say?
We really need somebody that makes that racket. That's a very distinctive sound, I think, if you followed the band over all those years. I mean, a bit of it is like that record just heard, No Tomorrow Like Today, which, again, we put out... We did it as an afterthought on the Citizens of Boomtown album, but it sounded too... like we did in 1979, and most people thought that wasn't a bad thing, actually. So, but it's the one where you hear Garry at his most sort of Garry, you know, the fans call him the legend, and he had a style and a thing, and it's there present in that, and plus the title, There's No Tomorrow Like Today, Live for Now. They made a film about the band. And I remember Garry very aptly said, there were two things I wanted to do in my life: drive my motorbike and play my guitar, and both fast. And he did. And so you're right, Phillip, like replacing that. There are a billion great guitarists. So you've got to find one who fits in 40 years of comradeship. That's very, very hard. And, you know, we've tried a couple... And we're playing now with Paul Cuddiford, who's a great player, and, you know, we'll see how that goes. But, you know, we've got a bunch of festivals coming up, and we've done rehearsals, and it's odd. There's no point in, you know, saying otherwise.
Well, it's a very fitting tribute, and it has released now, so it's out right now. What's extraordinary is Band Aid 40th anniversary. Is it next year?
Yes, thank you for reminding us.
I know. Well, I was going to say that to you. Does it feel like that? Because it feels like, I mean, it feels like part of our Christmas every year anyway.
Well, it is, whether you like it or not. I mean, how boring is it when you go to the supermarket and it's Cliff at baked beans, it's Slade at coffee?
I don't find it boring at all.
It's what's it? Then you get to vegetables and it's like, you know, McCartney, and then you get to meat and it's Christmas time. Shut up! But you know, there goes the cash till again. You know, like it constantly turns over. I think it's been #1. It's probably the record that's been most #1 ever. You know, there's been so many versions, and of course this year was #1 again with Lad Baby. And every year we're asked, Band-Aid is asked. I mean, we do Band-Aid every day. The song, do they know? I think we were paid $460,000 for 4 seconds on a Hollywood movie about 8 weeks ago.
Wow.
So it just keeps generating, and of course that goes to people who have absolutely nothing. And so we are glad this year. We get about 10, 12, possibly more requests every year. Can various groups record it? And Midge and I have always thought that it's less a song, it's more of a vehicle for change. It's you know, if you think about Midge, you probably think about Vienna. If you think about Bob, you might think, I don't like Mondays. You think of songs. Neither of us think of that as a song, or our song particularly. You know, you hear carol singers do it, you know, which is nice. You know, they think Silent Night and Come On Ye Faithful, and then do they know it's Chris? They think it's been around for hundreds of years. It has, but it's nice to hear that. And the Lad Baby thing, whatever you think about the production, that's what I'm saying, it doesn't matter.
No.
It's simply an instrument for change.
Well, I mean, the song itself, it has, in each of its inceptions, made a fortune.
It has, yeah, and various generations have covered it, so that with Lad Baby, it went to people who appallingly, disgracefully, are cold this year and hungry this year in Great Britain in 2023. Shut up! You know, so we were thrilled. I mean, people submit their lyrics, their new lyrics, and we say, OK, sausages, you know, whatever, and go ahead. And, you know, firemen and local charities use it for their own thing.
Yeah.
And throughout the years, we've put it out again. I mean, and if you looked at that, the official versions, you really do have the roster of great British rock and roll, starting with Sting as a kid, Bono just breaking through, Simon Le Bon, you know, Boy George, George Michael. And then you come to the Band-Aid 20 and you've got Tom York from Radiohead, Paul McCartney, Damon Albarn, The Darkness, all these other bands. And then up to the last one, which was, you know, kids starting off, Sam Smith, Ed Sheeran, Rita Ora, you know, 1D.
So what about next year, then? Would you do something next year?
No, because it has a life of its own now, you know, and I don't know who's making the running now. The whole point is, how many records are you saying, will you sing on this song? And generally they do. I mean, you know, at the last one, because they've become huge, Sam Smith, I remember him at the microphone. He had his eyes closed and he was singing away the song. And I'd say, Sam, they're not the words. He goes, oh, yeah, sorry, because we'd rewritten the words for, I think, the Ebola crisis in West Africa. Yeah. And he said, yeah, sorry. So off he goes and he closes his eyes again. He starts singing the original words. Sam, you're singing. And he goes, yeah, sorry. He said, like, every year in school I had to sing the song.
It was so ingrained.
And then, you know, Harry came over and said, thank you for, you know, asking. And he said, I'm so privileged to be on this song. And I said, well, thanks, you know, but why? And he said, because it's a bit of history.
Yeah. It makes you history to be involved with it. Do you think, though, looking back to, because I was there in 1985, as, you know, sort of in the stadium, times were very different. There was no internet. You couldn't stage something that massive again, could you?
Well, you could, and it happens every year. It's called Lollapalooza. It's called Glastonbury. It happens all the time, but it happens on a distanced perspective. You've got it on your phone or your device, but you're not sharing it necessarily with someone. It's a solo. And I think what happened in 2005 and 85 was a sense of shared humanness. Now, that sounds weird. I don't mean shared humanity. I mean a sense of somehow, maybe for the first time through media, there was a connectedness and all focusing on one thing that we all wanted to stop in common. And I'm very pragmatic. I won't do things that don't have an immediate practical result. So people say, why not do one for Ukraine? You know, well, pop songs don't stop fascists. And, there's other ways. Unfortunately, everyone is against war, but the way to prevent war is by insisting on peace. And so, that's not going to work. And I get asked really seriously, I mean, properly every week, a dozen letters saying, do it for this, do it for that. One, I don't want to, because I don't think it'll work. Two, it's been done to death. I mean, during COVID, Gaga did, the old star thing. Who watched it? And what did it result in? One, you're not going to stop COVID. Yes, you can get people the vaccine. Yes, you can get the masks. Yes, you can buy hazmats for people. But it really didn't raise that much. As far as I know, nobody actually... I didn't watch it. And she had a great lineup. So there has to be something more than just pop music.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming in. It's been a long time since we've seen you in our sofas. It's lovely to have you back. Thank you.
Thank you, Holly.
Yeah, absolutely. And No Tomorrow Today is out now, and everybody remembering Garry Roberts.
Everybody can go and immediately download it and buy it, Phillip, I think are the words you're trying to say.
What he said.
What he said.